Hey, everybody, welcome back to Films and Fermentation. We took a week off because I was on vacation with my wife, but we are back with a brand new episode. That's right, we are Films and Fermentation, a movie and alcohol podcast, and we have returned tonight with episode 68. This episode is Favorite Final Scenes. I'm Leo.
I'm Kevin.
I'm Mike.
We're three friends who like to talk shit about movies while getting shit-faced. We're back. After a brief hiatus, we've returned with this brand new episode. On tonight's show, we're looking at some of our favorite final scenes in movies. Now, this is not like climaxes. This would be like the actual final shot of a film. And we're looking at scenes that kind of like stick with you afterwards. For example, I'm not talking about all the assassinations at the end of The Godfather. I would be talking about the final scene where the door closes as what's her face looks on. Why can't I think of her name?
Diane
Keaton.
Diane Keaton, that's it.
As Diane Keaton looks on, like just scenes that kind of stick with you afterwards. Don't forget to drop us an email at filmsandfermentation@gmail.com or visit linktree.com/filmsandfermentation. That is 3 words altogether, films and fermentation, to find all our social media and podcast links. Gentlemen, what are we drinking this evening? So Kevin, you go first. I like your plan for this evening.
Yes. So I figured I'll grab 3 because typically I'm about a quarter of the way done by the time we actually start talking about the movie. So, but I'm going in increasing alcohol by volume. So I'm going to start off with this Victory Easy Rider Sessions IPA, which is a 4.3. Victory being local to Pennsylvania, Downingtown specifically. All 3 are actually local beers. I didn't even think about that. The next I will be doing is the Yards Brewing Filthy, right, which is a unfiltered hazy IPA. I've actually been enjoying hazy IPAs lately. I don't know what's wrong with me. This is 6.5% alcohol by volume, also local out of Philadelphia. And last, at 8.5% alcohol by volume, this is Spellbound Brewing, Belgium Triple Cherry. They are out of, I want to say Mount Holly. Yes, Mount Holly, New Jersey. And I will be embarking on this after the other 2. So I should be feeling really nice by the end of the podcast.
That's great. And I figure like since it's favorite final scenes, this is kind of like building up to your final scene by going in incrementally higher alcohol by volume beers.
This is my 3rd act.
This is your 3rd act. This is got a 3-act structure going on. So it's an introduction, it's the setup of a conflict, and then a satisfying resolution.
That's right.
Mike, what do you got going on?
As I said earlier, Adrian and I went down to Delaware and stopped at the wine and spirit store, and I got some beer down there. One of them was another Devil's Backbone, but this one's especially made just for Maryland.
Oh wow!
But it was in Delaware. It is called Crab Cakes and Football. It is a.
Please tell me it's a crab cake flavored beer.
It is not.
It's a football flavored beer.
It is a session IPA. Saison IPA, I guess. It's 4.2% alcohol by volume, and it is, what does it say here? Tropical, citrus, and crisp notes. And for an IPA, it's not bad.
That's a session IPA. Usually tends to be a little less hoppy than like a regular IPA.
And for my second beer, I also got down there. This brewing company's really weird name. Destihl. Destihl. Out of Illinois.
Okay.
It is the Hawaii 5 Ale. It is a blonde ale with pineapple, coconut, mango, peach, and guava. It is 6.4% alcohol by volume. So I'm kind of doing the Kevin thing, moving it up.
Moving it on up. We're all having a good night tonight.
So let me show you the can.
That's still brewing, I guess it is.
Still, yeah.
Still, yeah. And crab cake.
I like the can on that. Yeah.
So this is the one I got the 12-pack for, so you guys will be getting some.
You crab cake drinking motherfucker. I was like, oh, does it taste like crab cakes? Because remember when we tried the chicken nugget beer? It was like
it was
plain chicken nuggets, and all it was just plain beer. I was really disappointed. It tastes like a chicken nugget.
This
is a plain beer too, but it's made from Maryland, so that's why it's called crab cakes in football.
I am going to be saving my drink for the main segment because the drink that I'm having this evening was kind of the inspiration behind the main topic for the show. I was recently in the Finger Lakes with my wife. It's one of our favorite places to go. We were there for 3 days, stocked up on all wines and liquors and beers and shit, because that's what we do every time we go up there. We come home with cases of alcohol in our trunk. So I actually picked up some wines that I like, which is unusual for me. I'm usually not the wine person. It's more my wife. I got a new bottle of bourbon that I haven't had before that I'm looking forward to trying out. Got some of my favorite gin while I was up there. I picked up a hard cider called, it's from Bombshell from Warhorse, which I've had on the show before. Mm-hmm. They had a new flavor called strawberry, lemonade, cherry, and hard iced tea.
That sounds great.
It's awesome. Oh my God, it's so good. If I have any left by the barbecue, Mike, I will bring some for you guys to try out. It might not last that long. I only bought an 8-pack, so it might not last that long. And what I'm drinking this evening, which I'm going to talk about before the main segment. So, Mike, what happened today?
This day in film history. In 1989, the film When Harry Met Sally is released, starring Billy Crystal, Meg Ryan, directed by Rob Reiner, and written by Nora Ephron.
Yes, and I actually have it on the list for the main segment because I do that's why
I picked that particular one.
Yeah, I really like the ending of this film, and it's one of the few quote unquote chick flicks that I can tolerate. Mm-hmm. It's a very well written, very intelligent movie. What's your fun drink fact for this evening, Mike?
I have some beer trivia for you boys. And when I mean trivia, I mean useless information. German Pilsners and Czech Pilsners are similar styles, though the former tends to be hoppier and drier than the maltier, softer Bohemian cousin. Pilsner get its name from the city of origin, Pilsen, in what is now known the Czech Republic. It was first brewed in 1842 by Joseph Groll. So there you go. The history of Pilsner.
That sounds like Cold War kind of talk there, buddy.
You're watching too much Stranger Things.
Yeah.
I whenever I hear the word Bohemian style beer, I think of Shawshank Redemption, because he says that when they're sitting on the rooftop drinking the beer that the guard gets them after he helps them.
Bohemian style beer.
Yeah, sitting back drinking some ice cold Bohemian style beer. That colossal prick even happened to sound magnanimous. All right. So notes from the last show. Really have too many notes from the last show because the last show was almost 2 weeks ago. That was our 6 Degrees of Kevin Bacon episode.
Which I did add something to the notes for the last show.
What's that? Oh yeah, I saw it. We'll get to that. I listened to the Kevin Bacon episode twice. Okay. The first time I listened to it, I always listen to it when it releases just to see how I did with the editing and make sure I didn't fuck it up too badly. Mm-hmm. But it was so good that I listened to it a second time. It was so funny. It was one of our funniest episodes. It was one of the most off the rails episodes we've ever had. I have to thank Kevin for about 75% of that. And I even got my wife to listen to it because we listened to it on the way up to New York. And she was laughing and she was trying to figure out the connections to Kevin Bacon and stuff as well. And she actually came up with a few that I didn't even think of that was pretty impressive. But it was a fun episode, man. I really encourage anybody out there who hasn't listened to that episode yet, please do. That was episode 66. Technically, I called tonight episode 68. Technically, last week was episode 67, even though it was a repeat episode. So episode 67 was a re-release of an older episode where we talk a little bit about ourselves, getting to know us episode.
This is special edition.
Special edition.
We went back. We added some stuff. We computer generated some shit.
Yeah.
We added Java.
It was a fucking rerun.
I de-aged us.
It was a fucking rerun.
It was a rerun. But I de-aged us for it. I'm thinking for this episode of how I did the poster of Beetlejuice for the Danny Elfman episode. Maybe this week I'll get that last scene from like the full Monty, and I'll put our heads on the guys on stage.
Nice.
You can leave your hat on. So I have been binging my ass off the last few days, much to my wife's chagrin, because I probably should be doing shit around the house. But I finished The Boys season 3. I am not going to talk about it because I know Mike hasn't got caught up on it yet.
Oh no!
But man, what a fucking season that was!
Yeah,
holy shit. Some real twists at the end there, man. Some crazy shit. Fucking Butcher. Herogasm. Oh.
Oh Jesus.
Herogasm, Mike. You gotta catch up to the Herogasm part. Oh my god! And then,
how far back are you, Mike?
Oh shit! I got a season and a half to
he's still like
two. I'm still season 1.
Yeah.
The last full episode I watched was the dolphin getting killed.
Okay.
Yeah, that was way back in season 1. Dude,
Yeah.
it gets crazier. This season is off the chain. You're gonna see Dean from Supernatural in a whole new light.
I've seen the pictures from him.
Oh no, I mean some of the shit he does. They call him Granny. They call him Granny Fucker.
There's just that's a show I have to watch when Adrian's not around.
Yeah, like, not gonna be into that show. Oh my god.
So, and since her new job, she gets home like at 5:30. I don't have a lot of time.
Yeah. Oh my god, dude. Let's say one thing, dude. Octopus sex. Stranger Things season 4. I got tired of waiting for my wife, so I watched it myself.
Poor Eddie.
Smart man.
Dude, I watched it this week. Like I basically marathoned my way through it this week, so I could talk about it tonight. I watched the last 2 episodes this morning, just so I could talk about it tonight, man. It was. This meeting will end in 10 minutes. What?
That's what it says. I saw that come up.
They've revoked your rights.
Yeah, I guess the school hasn't paid to because I've been using my school account.
Oh.
Hey everybody, we're back with Films and Fermentation. As always, there's always some sort of technical difficulty that throws itself your way. We're still suffering the curse of the Kevin Bacon 666 episode.
Yes, we are.
For those of you out there in podcast land, I forgot to hit the record button for the second half of the show. So we are redoing the second half, and hopefully we're as funny as we were with the unrecorded segment as we are. So notes from last show. We have all been binging a lot of different shows lately. I finished Stranger Things season 4 today. I've been watching Orville. Kevin and I have both finished The Boys season 3. Mike is 2 seasons behind.
I'm way behind.
But as I said, Boys season 3, Mike, one word: herogasm. Followed by 2 words: octopus sex. Stranger Things season 4. I talked about what I want to talk about was that the Emmys snubbed a lot of people this year, and I feel one of the biggest snubs was Sadie Sink, who plays Max in Stranger Things. I thought she was like the heart of that season and should have gotten at least a nomination. Also, none of the Disney Plus MCU shows got any major nominations aside from What If, which got a nomination for Best Animated Series. The rest of the shows didn't get any acting, writing, directing, or series nominations, mostly technical awards, which is fine. They deserve the technical awards, but I feel like, I think Oscar Isaac should have got a nomination for playing, 4 or 5 different roles in Moon Knight.
No kidding.
I really thought WandaVision should have got something, at least for like writing or something like that. If not for Elizabeth Olsen getting like best actress.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Mike, something you'll be happy about, and I'm sure your wife will be happy about, the 2023 reboot of Haunted Mansion. Not sure if it
can't get any worse.
Not sure if it's a re-release, theater release, or a Disney Plus exclusive. But it's going to star Rosario Dawson and Owen Wilson, who are both Disney Plus alums now, as Owen Wilson is in Loki and Rosario Dawson has been showing up as Ahsoka Tano in a number of series as well.
So it could get worse than the last.
Could get worse, could be better. Who knows?
Eddie Murphy's going to be one of the ghosts.
Yeah, I don't think it could be any worse, man.
Yeah, I don't think it could be any worse. But you never know with Owen Wilson. He's hit or miss sometimes.
I don't know. Wow. I like him in the low.
Wow, you see the ghost? Wow.
So I saw behind the scene pictures of Loki season 2 being filmed.
Yeah, I've seen that too on Facebook.
So there's no last time on Films and Fermentation because our last episode was not a new episode. We did a re-release of episode 20.
Don't lie, it was a fucking rerun.
Yeah, it's a rerun. It's technically episode 67, but it's a rerun of episode 20, which was Getting to Know Us. Our last fully new episode was back on July 4th when we did the 6 Degrees of Kevin Bacon game. And Mike pointed out to me earlier that July 8th was Kevin Bacon's birthday. And that even though we don't plan things, it kind of works out anyway. Which is ironic to say that now, considering I forgot to hit the fucking record button.
We don't plan things. It didn't work out this time.
30 minutes of show we kind of already did. Now have to redo. Anyway, we're gonna try to remember what we quote unquote rehearsed earlier, and give you the same amount of fun-loving content that we had already given to ourselves.
With 11 movies already.
11 movies that we already talked about, but we're gonna go back and talk about them again. So my idea for tonight and my inspiration for tonight was the film The Full Monty, and that was because as I was up in New York with my wife, I was at a winery called the Lakewood Vineyards, and I had a Riesling that I really liked. And wine is not always my go-to. I'm not usually a wine person, but I really like this wine. It's a semi-sweet, not too dry, and it's called the Full Monty wine.
Did it get you drunk enough to take it all off?
I took it all off. I danced to Leave Your Hat On. And that's what made me think of this episode tonight, favorite final scenes. I'm drinking the wine and I'm like, this is a really good wine. It's called Full Monty. I love the Full Monty. Man, that final scene is really funny. Oh, we should do a show about final scenes. Because even when I'm on vacation, I think about the podcast. So the first movie on our list was the Full Monty, which of course ends with that great scene of the 6 guys in the film finally getting up on stage to do their striptease dance for all the women in their little Irish town. They're dancing to a song called Leave Your Hat On, and it ends with this iconic still frame shot of them throwing their hats into the crowd, and you see them from behind, so you see all their, gnarly asses. And great movie, and made me think of tonight's episode.
So we're going to show our gnarly asses?
Yeah, we're going to show our asses at the end. I'll make sure the record button's on. The second film on our list is The Matrix. Superman ending. And I love the end of this film because you got that kick-ass Rage Against the Machine song playing at the end. You got Keanu Reeves as Neo, the One, finally coming to realization that he is the One, even though his name is, basically the One scrambled. And gets on the phone, talks to machines about how he's not going to let humanity be enslaved anymore. Cue the music, camera pans on up to the skyline. Here comes Keanu flying through the air as his Superman 1 character.
Now, you understand that won't age well because there's a whole generation of kids that are going to be out there saying, what was he talking into? What was that box?
Yeah, but it's also like not just the payphone that he was talking to, but the fucking flip phones they used the whole time. Yeah. They're all on flip phones. None of them have touch.
You remember how hot they were, though.
Oh yeah,
everybody wanted the one that you could press the button and I had to explain when I sold cell phones. I had to explain, I'm sorry, that's a European model, not a U.S. model. You have to slide down the U.S. version.
I had the one that you push the button on the side and it popped open.
We done lost Adrian
We
again.
lost Adrian again. I finished.
It's
my
Kevin
wine.
again.
We have to make sure we get through this next 40-minute recording because I finished my wine already. I only have this much left.
Well, I just finished my second beer, so I'm going to go into my third, which is Einstock. It's a Icelandic beer. It's a wee heavy, and it's 8% alcohol by volume. So I am going up like Kevin is. So.
Yeah, I'm on my second. I'm drinking Filthy right now. It's 6.5.
I'm drinking Filthy.
This is the can.
So I'm drinking a bottle of wine that is I'm almost done. It is 10.4% alcohol by volume.
And you drank the whole bottle.
And this is what I have left. So that should be all you need to understand why I forgot to hit the record button earlier. Hopefully I remember to stop it. The next one on our list is Shawshank Redemption.
The beach scene.
The great scene you have at the end there is him crawling through, 5 football fields of shit. And Morgan Freeman
on the other side.
Morgan Freeman finally standing up to the parole board. Riding away on the bus at the end, and then you get that great hopeful scene of them meeting up on the beach, him seeing his friend again, cue the hopeful music, and the end.
Yeah, and then Andy says, "Why can't I quit you?"
Jesus Christ!
I don't really have a follow up to that. Other than to say that was not the original ending. The original ending of Shawshank Redemption actually just had Red riding the bus, heading towards, wherever Andy was, and saying the words, "I hope to see my friend again. I hope the Pacific is as big as it is in my dreams. I hope," and then it ends. They showed it to test audiences who hated it because they wanted to see the two guys, meet up together again at the end. And so after the fact, they filmed the scene on the beach. And it has become the iconic ending that it is. And that line there is a very quotable line.
Why can't I quit you?
Why can't I quit you? I don't have it on the list, but actually, the last scene of Brokeback Mountain is a pretty memorable scene too. Next on the list is The Godfather, which I had used in our intro as an example, and how explaining what I wanted to do with this episode, and that was not talk about like the climax, but the actual final scene. So the climax of The Godfather is Michael having the
heads of the never talk about the climax ever.
No, we don't want to know.
Talk about no. So he has the heads of the 5 family killed, but the actual final scene is him straight up lying to his wife, played by Diane Keaton. And then that slow close of the door as he's being acknowledged as the Godfather, and she looks on, slightly terrified because she's not sure what's happening. Great scene.
Clemenza did it. He shut the
door. Who wants to take When Harry Met Sally and explain the ending for me?
Oh.
Go ahead.
Oh, me. So throughout the movie When Harry Met Sally, there are little tidbits, almost like segues into portions of the movie where you have a couple who are talking about how they met, what conditions they met under, and how they fell in love, how they knew. And the final scene in When Harry Met Sally was not New Year's Eve, as many of us remember, when Billy Crystal confesses to Meg Ryan about his love for her and all the little idiosyncrasies that he loves about her, even though many people would find them annoying.
I love that you get cold when it's 75 degrees outside. I love those crinkles when you look at me like
Kevin, are you trying to tell me it's not the "I'll have what she's having"? It's not the ending?
No.
Boy, that's barely the beginning.
We're not talking about climaxes in this episode. Okay, so we have to avoid that whole conversation. Okay, we're talking about
we don't talk about climaxes.
No. We're talking about the final scene where it's those two talking about how their relationship ended, which we just witnessed while watching the movie. We witnessed how they were on again, off again, on again, off again,
Mm-hmm. And that IS scene kind of shows you the great chemistry that they had together, that they can play this sort of like mundane, couple that's been together a while scene, despite all the crazy shit that happened to them in the film.
Yeah.
One of the few, like I said, quote unquote chick flick films that I can tolerate. Kevin is trying to knock out every audience member we have.
Yes.
We just talked about When Harry Met Sally.
You actually like that one.
I know. That's what we were talking about, how great a final scene that is.
We don't talk about climax.
We don't talk about climaxes. Next on the list is
Crate going to the.
Go ahead, Mike. You could take this one.
Yeah, Raiders of the Lost Ark is for the crates get pushed down the warehouse that has nothing but boxes and boxes and boxes of crates just like it. Stuff the government's hiding from the people.
From alien corpses all the way to
crystal skulls.
Crystal skulls.
Crystal skulls and DNA tests proving that Shia LaBeouf is Indiana Jones' son. Yeah. It's a great ending. It's a iconic ending, but it's also kind of like a bleak ending because, like you said, Mike, it's just like, what's the government hiding from us?
What was the point of the movie?
Lee?
Yeah.
You better tell Kate she's in camera shot.
Mike said you're in camera shot, Kate.
You're in frame.
And to think about it, now I know there was an episode of Big Bang Theory where Sheldon's significant other points out to him, points out to all of the guys.
Her name is Amy Farrah Fowler.
Farrah Fowler points out to all of the guys that Indiana Jones didn't need to do anything, and the ending would have been the same.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
that's. You kind of think of it like it does make sense.
Yeah,
I read an article somewhere where they tried to like disprove that there was like a necessity for having him in the film.
Yeah, for the government to get the box.
Yeah,
that's the only reason.
Well, that was, but right.
Actually, technically, if he wasn't there, the Germans would have never got it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
he's the one that found it.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I mean, they probably would have found it eventually after they realized they were digging in the wrong place. Oh man, yeah, that's like that glass breaking moment where they all realize it and they're all like, oh. Number 7 is Gone with the Wind. Iconic scene of Scarlett O'Hara standing on the hilltop, looking at her house burning in the distance, and exclaiming, "I will never go hungry again.
I will revenge the South.
As God is my witness, I shall never go hungry again.
I'm taking Sherman on."
And then they went to 2.
And then they did
Candle in the Wind.
Yes, they did the sequel, Candle in the Wind, followed by the third film, which was Dust in the Wind.
And there was the fourth film by a different director, Breaking Wind.
Breaking Wind, which is just was a failed experiment.
Mm-hmm.
And now that we're done shitting all over a classic, let's shit over another classic. Kev, you want to take the next one?
Yes, of course I do. Shit, I had it. Where was it? Hold on.
Number 8.
New Hope.
Number 8, A New Hope.
Number 8, A New Hope. No, I had my list. I misplaced it. The finale of the Death Star blowing up after Luke sends those photon torpedoes down the exhaust shaft, which is only 2 meters, the size of womp rats. They're no bigger than 2 meters. And then the Death Star explodes.
Climax with shaft. Come on, guys.
And then
we don't talk about 2 meter shaft.
No.
And then how Chewbacca gets stiffed at the end. He's like, "Motherfucker."
He does.
I saved all your asses.
I remember Peter Mayhew in an interview though one time said, he goes, "Hey, I might not have gotten a medal, but I do get the last line in the film." And without getting into it too much because of how bad this fucking movie is, but the worst, most cringiest piece of fan service in The Rise of Skywalker was Leia handing Han's medal to Chewbacca.
Again, I don't know if that's the worst or
or the dice in The Last Jedi.
Yeah, because the dice wasn't there and Luke wasn't there. Come on, didn't even
and
get
most
the fucking dice.
and most people wouldn't even realize that those dice were hanging from the rear view mirror.
Millennium Falcon.
Yeah.
Because it needed a rear view mirror.
Yeah.
And they had to have Solo to explain why he had the dice.
Number 9 is E.T. And the final scene of that film is, of course, the ship landing and taking E.T. home with, to his people. And
saying goodbye.
Saying goodbye to Elliot with the whole, I'll be right here, and touching his heart and all that. Yeah.
And I think the bigger part of that, I mean, yes, the visuals and the cinematography is good, but I think the John Williams score and the crescendo as it's building up just, adds to it.
Mm-hmm.
That brings the tear to my eye.
And then, of course, there is the follow-up, and we find out that E.T. was part of the Senate in Phantom Menace.
Yeah, that makes you think that E.T., since he can make things float, is actually a Jedi.
He is a Jedi. Yeah.
So he's missing his lightsaber.
How do you think he was able to come back from dying in that one scene? It's just like Leia flying through space.
Yeah.
That brings us to They Live.
The John Carpenter classic.
John Carpenter classic. And anybody out there listening, if you've never seen a John Carpenter film, I highly suggest you do. If you are a film lover, you should love a John Carpenter film, especially They Live, which is a satire on capitalism and consumerism in the 80s. These aliens are hiding amongst us and forcing us to consume and buy and purchase and all that stuff while they take over the world.
Is that where the obey signs come from?
Yes, that's where the obey signs come from and all that other stuff. And then at the end, Rowdy Piper, who plays the hero in the film, takes out the satellite that has been blinding us to the aliens all along. They become visible to us now. We can see them for what they really are. And it ends with this great scene
where the girl is riding an alien.
Of an alien banging a blonde chick, and she sees him for what he really is. And the last line of the film is, "What's the matter, baby?"
What's the matter, baby?
John Carpenter is good for always like kind of ending it with like a really quirky scene. Like I just watched Big Trouble in Little China again the other day, and you got the final scene with the monster like showing up on the back of Jack Burton's truck.
Yeah.
Or if you watch like The Thing, great final scene there with Kurt Russell and Keith David, and you're not sure if one of them is the alien or the other one is. And it's just he's good for quirky scenes like that. That takes us to 7, which is number 11. 7 should have been 7 on the list, shouldn't it?
You would think.
You would think.
But what's in the box?
Mike jumped me for it. Here you go.
What's in the box?
What's in the box?
What's in the box? No.
No, everybody thinks of that, and that's probably the most quoted line from the film, obviously, but it is not the final scene.
No, it's not.
Final scene is, of course, Brad Pitt being arrested.
Mm-hmm.
Morgan Freeman, talking about.
Who, if you don't remember, was Red from Shawshank Redemption. He got from being a prisoner to becoming a detective.
Is that what happened? It's a sequel to Shawshank Redemption.
Exactly. I seen some shit.
Morgan Freeman plays Somerset. Brad Pitt plays Mills. You got Kevin Spacey playing John Doe. And you feel for Brad Pitt, like I probably would have shot him too.
Yeah, it had to end that way. We would be unsatisfied viewers if it ended any other way.
But you also, at the same time, you sympathize with Morgan Freeman because you understand it. By shooting him, he wins.
He wins.
Yes.
He was trying to explain to him.
He gets exactly what he wants.
Don't let him win. By the way, 7 is now on Netflix. I might be rewatching that soon.
That's a good movie.
Great music by Trent Reznor.
Yes. Okay. So we finally made it to the portion of the list that we didn't record earlier already.
Yay!
Hopefully we lived up to everything. I think we can rehearse all the time. All right. Next one on the list here was, I actually had this on the list already, but it was also suggested by somebody on Twitter, Movies Missed Pod. They are a podcast called Movies You Missed. And they suggested this as well, The Usual Suspects.
I'm crazy. So say.
It's one of those great endings. Now, it's another one where like the final scene kind of gets confused with like the climax as well.
Right.
Because the climax is Agent Coulion seeing all the stuff on the wall.
The big reveal.
Realizing that Verbal's been like lying to him the whole time. The final scene is him walking down the street, and then all of a sudden the limp is gone, and his hand, he opens his hand up and he puts a watch on, and he hops in the car, and you're like, holy fuck.
Mr. Kobayashi picks him up.
Yeah, he's Kaiser Soze. Like that's the big reveal.
Right.
And that's the final scene of the film. And it's
the end quote, like just the callback to
the greatest trick the devil ever pulled was making the world believe he didn't exist, and then he's gone. Yeah.
It's gone.
Yeah, and it's one of those movies. I always say this, like, if there's any movie that I wish I can rewatch for the first time again, it's The Usual Suspects. Because the first time I watched it, that ending blew me away.
It gave Bryan Singer so much clout that he wasted and squandered over the rest of his career.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. But it was like just watching that, I'm like, man, that blew me away. And like, it's still a good movie. I could still watch it, but you kind of miss that feeling you get the first time you see it.
Kev, I think that happens to a lot of directors that do that, like M. Night Shyamalan with
He's made a little bit of a reinvigoration in his career though, with
but he kind of
like Split in those movies.
No, you're right. He peaked he peaked early, which makes it tough. But the difference I see between M. Night Shyamalan and Bryan Singer is M. Night Shyamalan still strives to make. He's still trying to to make good movies. He's still trying to what he makes. He really wants to be good. Whereas Bryan Singer, to my knowledge, based on reviews and things I've heard, is he just phones it in or he just walks away. He has no.
M. Night Shyamalan also hasn't been brought up on sexual misconduct charges.
Yeah,
it's true.
M. Night Shyamalan always wants that twist ending. Always wants that.
That was the problem early in his career. Was he got to a point where I think he thought people expected a twist.
Yeah, and I mean it was a little incredible during watching the movie Old that everything ended up taking place in Philadelphia. Considering it was all on a beach for like most of it.
Well, no, one of the families was from Philadelphia. That was the connection. Next one on the list.
This beach is on Market Street.
It's the Liberty Square Beach. The next one on the list I put on there as a movie that was like, I don't like this movie really. It's not a
very quotable
film, in my opinion. It's a very quotable film, but I don't think it's a great film. But it's one of those films where I think the final scene is so well known that you don't even have to have seen the movie to know the final scene, and that's Scarface. And it's the whole "say hello to my little friend." It's the big,
hello to my little friend.
Big shootout at the end where Al Pacino takes on an entire militia of drug dealers and gets killed. And then there's that ending shot of the big neon sign he had in his lobby that said "the world is yours" and all that. So very on the nose ending, but it's like an ending that I think kind of overtakes the film. That was
13.
Let's see, that was number 13. So number 14 is Casablanca.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I had already had this on the list, but it was also suggested by @JenTCM on Twitter. She gave us two suggestions for tonight, one that was on the list and one that wasn't. So the first one is Casablanca, which has that iconic scene of the plane taking off with Ingrid Bergman on it. And
Danny DeVito.
Danny DeVito. Humphrey Bogart walking away and saying that
they're both the same height.
Iconic last line.
We'll always have Paris.
This looks like the beginning of a beautiful friendship.
Okay.
Oh.
Always have Paris is the last thing he says. Not always have Paris. It's what's he say? The last line to Ingrid Bergman. Here's looking at you, kid.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
You're stepping on my foot.
We'll always have Paris. I think was an affair to remember. I think it's a different movie. They weren't in Paris, dude. They were in Casablanca in Morocco.
No, but we'll always have Paris. They could have been in Paris before And that was
during
a
Nazi occupation.
It's like Kevin doesn't even know movies here. Come on.
Ingrid Bergman.
Yeah. The next one that at Gen TCM suggested is Life is Beautiful, which is a Nazi war film starring Roberto Benigni. He and his son get placed in a concentration camp, and he tries to hide his son from the traumas of the camp by pretending that it's a game. And they get points for everything that they do. Like you laugh, you get 1,000 points and things like that. And so the very final scene, so the climax of the movie is Roberto Benigni gets killed by the Nazi soldiers, but he is hiding his son from them in the meantime, and does one last little trick to make his son laugh. And he told his son that if he scored all the points and he played the game correctly, he would win a tank at the end. And so the final scene of the film is the boy is all alone in this little town after the Allies had rescued it from the Nazi occupation. And all of a sudden, an Ally tank comes rolling up the street, and an American soldier pops out and says, "Hey, kid, are you all alone? Come on up here." And the kid doesn't understand anything as he speaks Italian, but in Italian, he says, "Oh my God, it's true." And that's the last scene is him riding away in a tank and then meeting up with his mother, who was being held in another concentration camp.
And that's when they say, "We'll always have Paris."
Yes, we'll always have Paris.
Well, at Gen TCM, I'm seeing a pattern here, Nazi time,
Nazi
I thought you were going to say she likes Turner Classic Movies, which is fine because, we do too.
So going up a couple decades, the next one on the list I put down is Rogue One.
Them holding each other as the planet is
No!
Not the final scene.
Not
That
the
is not the
final
final
scene.
That's not the final scene. That was
Final scene is I'm actually putting two scenes together because for me they're related, and I have to talk about it anyway. Is Vader fucking everybody up on that?
Yes.
On that rebel ship.
Yeah.
Which ends to the rebel ship pulling away, and you seeing the de-aged Leia.
Yes. That's the final. Yeah.
What's it mean? Hope.
Number 17, Psycho. Who can tell me the final scene in that film?
That is where Bates, what's his name? Norman Bates is in the interrogation room, and he hears his mother's voice in his head chastising him and talking, and he's just looking deadpan into the camera, breaking the fourth wall, breaking it, I say. And if you pay attention, there is a fly around them, but you also see the mother's skeletal remains interposed over his face as he smiles.
And you get that very eerie last line, which is, "I'll show them I wouldn't hurt a fly," and it's as the fly's buzzing around his face. So I'm going to keep going, and then if we have to restart, we restart. Next one is Silence of the Lambs. Final scene.
Why can't I quit you, Clarice?
Essentially, that's kind of what he's saying there.
Yeah, pretty much, because it's a scene with him.
Calling her at her graduation to tell her, I'm having an old friend for dinner. Fucking hilarious. That would be great if that was the last line. Why can't I quit you?
Oh, jeez.
So yes, the final scene is not the confrontation with Buffalo Bill.
Nope.
It is not the graduation. It is Hannibal Lecter calling her from whatever location Dr. Chilton is hiding at.
As he's having dinner.
To tell him I'm having an older friend for dinner. Dr. Lecter? Dr. Lecter? Yeah, my wife is saying to me in the background, the last words are Dr. Lecter. Dr. Lecter.
Dr. Lecter.
Dr. Lecter. Another film that should have ended where it was. I'm not a big fan of Hannibal. Red Dragon was a good film, but then again, it's also a prequel.
Right.
But I didn't really like Hannibal too much. I think a lot of it had to do with Jodie Foster not coming back for it.
Probably.
Next one I have on my list is Primal Fear.
Primal Fear is great, and I'm trying to think. I want to say the last scene is the reveal of Edward Norton, who is he's got multiple personality disorder. I know it's got a new term now that I'm unfamiliar with. Dissociative disorder. Identity disorder. Yeah, DID, right? But he ends up he's been playing two characters, and everybody thinks the true character is the meek and mild one, and the angry one is like the made up character or the secondary. And once the whole court case against him, because he's been accused of murders, is thrown out for insanity, you realize that he does not have DID. He's just been playing an act. Yeah. And his lawyer figures it out at the end.
I think that was the final scene. The very final scene is Richard Gere leaving the courthouse, the jailhouse that he's in, and kind of like walking out into the street himself and just kind of like standing there, realizing that he got played.
Yeah.
And it's just, and it kind of ends on that. So it's just such a bleak ending. But yeah, like the whole thing leading up to that, such a great reveal too.
Especially considering how cocky he was as the lawyer.
Thinking like, yeah, I really cracked this case here with the whole dissociative identity disorder thing. Next one I have on the list is Inglourious Basterds, one of my favorite Tarantino films. Final scene of this film shows our villain Hans Landa, who is one of the scariest villains I've ever seen in a movie, betraying the Nazi party, selling out Hitler to the Inglourious Basterds in exchange for immunity and a house on Nantucket Island in America. And as they are bringing him back to the Allied camp, Brad Pitt and the soldier that's with him stop the truck, kill the guy that's with Hans Landa, and tell him, we're going to give you you're going to take that Nazi uniform off when you get to America, but we're going to give you something you can't take off. And the very final scene is them carving a swastika into Hans Landa's forehead, which was a callback to something that happens earlier in the film. And it ends with Brad Pitt and the other soldier sitting next to him going, "You're getting really good at that, Lieutenant." And he goes, "Oh, you know how you get to Carnegie Hall, don't you? Practice." And he's been like carving swastikas in the Nazis' foreheads the whole movie. So it's a great, like, it's as Tarantino called it, it's a World War II fairy tale.
Yeah.
Because it is not historically accurate. Next one, number 21, is The Departed. Now, when I think The Departed, the scene that immediately pops in my head is Leonardo DiCaprio getting shot coming up the elevator. Because it's such a fucking, like, I saw it in the theater and I remember going, holy shit, like in the theater when it happened. But then it leads to a whole bunch of other stuff. And the actual final scene is Mark Wahlberg waiting for Matt Damon in his apartment, realizing that, he just found out that Matt Damon has been the rat all along, wait for him to come in. And as he, comes in the house, Matt Damon sees him and he just kind of comes to the realization that it's over. Wahlberg shoots him and that's the end of the film. And you get some kind of like a little bit of satisfaction at the end, despite the fact that most of the heroic characters get killed in the film.
We still don't know whether the baby is or
yeah, my wife said you also don't know if the baby is Leonardo DiCaprio or Matt Damon.
The important part of the movie. We need an episode of Maury.
Yeah.
Kev, you put the next one on the list, didn't you?
I think I did.
Planet of the Apes.
Yes.
So why don't you take that one for me?
As our hero, Charlton Heston, finally departs.
You're doing the old one, not one.
Yes.
Of
the
No.
We're doing the good one.
We're doing the one that matters.
Yeah.
The realization as he comes across in
the forbidden zone.
In the forbidden zone, right? He comes across the Statue of Liberty in disrepair and decay, and the realization of that he is not on a distant planet. He is not on a different planet. He is back on Earth after the monkeys have taken over. The damn dirty apes.
They blew it up. God damn you all to hell. It's one of those movies that's like super misquoted because I think he says something like a little different at the end there, but everybody's kind of interpretation of it is that like, God damn you all to hell, you damn dirty apes, whatever he says.
Shit, there goes the neighborhood.
My wife says no. The last line is, oh shit, there goes the neighborhood.
What's that coming out of her nose?
What's that coming out of her nose?
Oh
shit! Oh shit! There goes the planet. I am going to say that we got 2 minutes left here, so I'm going to stop it and restart it one more time. This should be the last time because we don't got that much more to go.
No.
So let me just stop it and restart it again.
Yep.
Okay.
All right. The next one on our list was suggested by @group of60 on Twitter. The film's called Local Hero. I have never seen this film.
No.
I didn't know much about it. I looked it up. It stars Burt Lancaster and Peter Riegert. Peter Riegert was probably best known for Animal House. And in the film, he plays an executive who works for this firm that wants to buy this little town in Scotland so that they could put a factory there. So he gets sent to Scotland to like, talk to the locals and try to like talk them into this deal or whatever, but starts to like fall in love with the little like slow paced, simple life town that he's visiting or whatever. And
it was a Lifetime movie.
No, it was an actual theater release. It basically ends with him convincing his boss not to tear the town down and build a factory there, but to build like a research center or something on the outskirts of the town that would benefit the people in the town and stuff and all that. But it ends with him getting sent back to America and feeling like sort of distraught that he's not there anymore. And he's calling, the town to talk to this woman that he fell in love with. And they have like one phone in the town. And the last scene of the film is the phone like ringing, and you hear it ringing as you see like the town in the background. I don't know much about the movie, so I'd have to kind of like watch it to know a little bit more about it. But I wanted to include it because it was a shout out by one of our Twitter followers. So, I apologize for not knowing much about this film. I'll have to watch it myself and see, a little bit more about it. The next one was suggested by @SoYouThinkPod on Twitter. It's Ex Machina.
Oh, that was a good ending.
Ex Machina stars Oscar Isaac, Donald Gleason, and Alicia Vikander. Donald Gleason is a analyst for this like computer company. Oh, Kevin's on his third beer.
On my third.
The triple
I
cherry.
almost finished my third beer.
I have this much of my wine left, so I'm trying to get through it while I still can. trying to conserve a little bit. So Ex Machina, he is analyst for this like computer firm. He wins a contest to meet the CEO of the company on his private island. The CEO is played by Oscar Isaac. When he gets there, he finds out that Oscar Isaac has been tinkering with robotics and has built these sort of android women. One played by Alicia Vikander. And he wants Donald Gleason's character to kind of test her out and see if he can forget about the fact that she's a machine and start to like see if she's more human than that and see how she reacts with human people. And he starts to fall in love with her. She pretends that she's in love with him, which leads to the big twist at the end where she tricks him into letting her out of the building. She traps him there. And then disguised as an actual woman, hops on this helicopter and heads back to America. And so your last scene is of him trapped in the house where he's probably going to starve to death as she hops on the helicopter and flies away. So see, you can't trust women even when they're robots.
That's right.
Just kidding. It got silent.
Quickly did.
Number 25 on the list is this is a Kevin suggestion, right?
Yes, the Prestige.
So why don't you go ahead and give us that one?
Well, we should know. I think most of our listeners know this Christopher Nolan. I've raved about it before, where it's about two competing magicians during the early early points of the 20th century. It becomes a vigorous competition where their, livelihood is even at stake. And a lot of people believe the end of it is the Hugh Jackman character, who is the great Danton, who has performed this transporting man trick. And the reveal at that point is, how does he do the trick? You see at the bottom of the stage, it kind of clones him every time the trick is done. And one of the people, the clone, or maybe the actual person, ends up dying in this Chinese water torture device where his wife had passed earlier in the film. But that is not the end. No, nay, sir, nay. It is not the end. The actual end of the film is the Christian Bale character, who was the opposing the other magician, who we find out he had a twin brother, and they had been living kind of one life, two twins living one life together, loving different women, doing different things, having different personalities, but still kind of convincing people they were one. And he goes to reclaim his daughter from the mentor, who was played by Michael Caine at the time. And that, I believe, is how the movie ends. I think that's it. It kind of meshes together.
What I love about the ending of that film is you have this one ending that's kind of supernatural, with this like cloning, technology that he gets from Tesla, played by a very unrecognizable David Bowie.
Yeah.
And then you also have this realistic ending with the two twin brothers playing the same person, kind of thing.
It's also like a double twist.
Yeah, it's a double twist, which makes it really cool. Yeah. Which is why Nolan's such a great director, and somebody who I'm sure is going to win an Oscar at some point, who deserves it probably more than anybody.
Yep.
Who did Miracle on 34th Street, 1947?
I did.
So why don't you give us that one, sir? Well, and I like that you clarified that it's 1947.
1947, because while everybody thinks the climax of that movie is the U.S. mail proving he's Santa Claus.
Mm-hmm.
But the actual ending is the little girl seeing the house and then going to the house.
Mm-hmm.
It's the ending in both versions of the movie. That's the actual ending. But I always like this version because of the mail and not the dollar bill.
What's the new one? I don't remember how they prove it in the new one.
Dollar bill. We trust.
Oh, in God we trust. Yeah. So if you believe in God, yeah.
Yeah.
I do like the original one as well. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But it's all about the house at the end. The one she drew in the picture that Santa Claus got her.
And she got the house, yeah. And then the last one I have on my list here, and of course this is definitely not the last movie that would fall into this category, but we got to end it somewhere, and I think this is a good one to end on. Field of Dreams.
If you build it, they will come.
If you build it, he will come. And that climactic scene that I love is him seeing the ghost of his father and saying, "Dad, I want to have a catch."
Want to have a catch?
And they're having a catch together, and it tears me up every time I see it. It makes my wife laugh because I tear up every time I watch it. But it's not the last scene. No, the last scene is all these people driving into this little town in Iowa rather, to watch a group of ghosts play baseball. Basically,
a baseball game.
They will come.
I hear it's heaven.
Yeah, it's heaven.
No, it's Iowa.
No, it's Iowa.
And I think that was one of those misquoted lines too. If you build it, it's not if you build it, he will come. It's if you build it, they will come. Is that correct?
If you build it, he will come.
Is it he will come?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Because
but it was they will come because it's all the people will come to see it at the end.
The he that the voice is mentioning is the father, because it's all about him reconciling with the father that he stopped talking to so many years ago, when he told him Shoeless Joe was a criminal.
Right.
But he was just trying to be hurtful. It's a great movie. I love that movie. Mike, you have any beer wisdom for us this evening?
I do. Beer is the perfect temporary solution to any problem.
Like forgetting to hit the fucking record button on your
episode? Yes, you should have been drinking beer.
You were drinking beer, not wine. See, I was trying to be sophisticated and it ruined me. Anyway,
I finished my last beer.
despite my attempt to be sophisticated, I did like my wine from Lakewood Vineyards in Finger Lakes, New York. Full Monty Riesling, which became the inspiration for tonight's debacle of an episode. Kevin, how did your increasing alcohol by volume?
I think I say, and now I've said this before, the higher the alcohol by volume content, the tastier the beer. And this has not proven me any wrong. This has not proven me wrong. This is an 8.5. It's really tasty. It's got flavor. It's a Belgian style ale with cherries, and it's not quite Mad Elf. Mad Elf also has that cherry flavor, but this is good. Spellbound is actually a very good brewery.
Mike, how did your experiment go?
Well, my first two were excellent. My third one, while not terrible, goes against what Kevin says. The stronger the beer, the better the beer. This had like a chocolatey coffee taste to it. The aftertaste
sounds beautiful.
Yeah, that's not what I like though.
Sounds wonderful.
See, I can.
It wasn't. I hate it. I didn't hate it. It's actually pretty good, but not my type of beer. I
think that beer needs to be probed.
Well,
we don't have to back climaxes, no.
But again, not terrible. The other two, very good. Even the one that's the IPA, I thought it was quite good. So, you are.
Thank you, everybody, for joining us for episode 68, Favorite Final Scenes. If we missed anything out there you think we should have talked about, please drop us a line at filmsandfermentation@gmail.com or visit one of our social media links at linktree.com/filmsandfermentation. Tell us if there's any movies out there that we should have added to our list.
Just don't yell at us about it.
Yeah, just be nice. Just be nice, okay? Join us next week. Next week is a very special episode. It's episode 69, dude. We don't talk about climaxes, no. Huh?
Can't handle 69s. You're too old.
My wife said we can't handle 69s. We're too old.
Oh, my back.
My back, my knees. Anyway, episode 69, Mike came up with this idea, and I think it's an interesting one, so we're going to go with it and see what happens. We are going to take the classic 1984 comedy Ghostbusters, bring it into 2022, and recast it for a 2022 reboot. Now, we are not talking about anything, regarding a 2016 reboot film. We're talking about actually taking the 1984 film, putting a 2022 cast into it and seeing what happens. So each of us is going to come up with our own cast. We're going to argue it a little bit. We're going to see how that goes next week. So that'll be next week, episode 69, recasting 1984's Ghostbusters. In the meantime, this was episode 68, Favorite Final Scenes. Thank you for joining us this evening here at the crossroads of Pickled and Fermented. We hope you enjoyed listening to this episode as much as we enjoyed suffering our way through it for you.
Which are you tonight, Lee?
Which am I tonight? I'm a little bit more on the fermented side, I want to say, since I've been drinking wine. Probably explains why I forgot to record during that second segment. For those of you listening out there, this is a painful episode for the three of us. We have been at this for a while, and I'm done.
We started at 3:00 this afternoon. It's now 9.
It's now 9:45. So anyway, we're going to get going while we still are somewhat sensible. Thank you for joining us again tonight. Please join us again next week. I'm Leo.
I'm Kevin.
I'm Mike.
Cheers, everybody.
Cheers.
Cheers.